What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to video number 2. Today is March 17th, and if you've been following me on Instagram, then you'll know that I had a Hyrox competition in Houston this past weekend, and I want to take this opportunity to go over how Hyrox went. And so if you're not familiar with Hyrox, I guess it started to become popular around 2020, 2021, somewhere in there, but it's a fitness race where you basically run a 1K and then you have a station after it. And so you end up running 8 1Ks because there's 8 stations. And so just to kind of run through the stations, you have 1,000-meter ski erg, you have a 50-meter sled push, 50-meter sled pull, 80-meter burpee broad jump, 1,000-meter row, 200-meter farmer's carry, 100-meter sandbag lunges, and then you have wall balls. And so remember, in between each of those stations, you have a 1K run. So I signed up for it back in probably December, and this was sort of one of my goals, to accomplish this year. Last year, my main goal was to run a half marathon. And so I did 2 half marathons last year. And then I've been trying to do a Hyrox, honestly, for probably about a year and a half. I tried to sign up for one in Dallas like a while ago, and then it booked up too fast and just didn't work out. And so with this, the timing was perfect, although it did end up getting COVID back in January. Or not really COVID, but I had a bad flu. The whole family had a bad flu back in January. And so I had to recover from that. And so February training went really well. So really, after that flu, I felt like I was starting back over with training. And so I really hit it hard in February with training. So about 5 weeks worth of training is really kind of the bulk of what I got. And then took a deload the week leading up to Hyrox. And so it was kind of mind blowing when you show up. So it was in Houston, like I said, and man, it was just so much going on. And so my poor wife, she's, carrying around our 3-year-old daughter, and it's just a super hectic environment. I can't remember exactly how many people were in attendance, but I think my buddy Tom texted me and said there was over 2,000 competitors between Saturday and Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more than that. And so, so my heat started at 9 o'clock, and my goal was to get there at 8. And that way, I had plenty of time to kind of warm up, check out the test weight for the sled, check out the test weight for the farmer's carries and all that. And so, but with a 3-year-old, that doesn't really happen quite too well. And then my wife, I love her to death. Sometimes time is something that is not her strong suit. But so we ended up getting there at 8:30, 8:40, if I'm being more realistic. And so literally just sprinted in there into the hall, finally found where the spectator, sign in was. So my wife did her thing. I kind of just went separate and went ahead and registered. Thankfully, with the morning slot, the registration or check-in line was super short. And so went to go check my bags because I didn't realize you can't take anything back there with you into the warm-up zone. And so when I went over to check bags, they're like, hey, what's your number? I was like, I don't know what you mean. And it wasn't written on my arm. So I had to go back to the registration. They finally gave me my number, wrote it on my arm. And so that was a whole ordeal. So finally, by the time I get to the warm-up area, it is 8:52. And so I'm freaking out. I'm like, man, I'm kind of warmed up, but kind of not. Just, due to adrenaline and whatnot. I just go to the sled area, just give the sled a good push, see how it felt. Felt fine. And then I gave it a good pull. Okay, that felt fine. And so honestly, I was in the warm-up chute by like 8:55. And then from there, got the music going. You got the MC hyping you up, and you're in there with a bunch of other people. So I started warming up there, just some stationary dynamic warm-up type stuff. But honestly, 9 o'clock hit, they started right on the dot, started my watch, and I started out pretty conservatively on my run. And so if I'm looking at that first run, I believe it was like a 550 for the 1K, which was slow, but I wanted to be conservative. And so I knew the main thing going into that race was to run my own race. I know everybody's going to be probably starting out super hot, maybe not have a strategy. I had a little bit of a strategy, and people are going past me, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm running my own race. I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I'm really just trying to prove myself that I can do this and really push myself to my limit and not worry about anybody else. And so that was good. So first run was smooth. You're running 2 laps around the arena, or the little conference center. And so 2 laps, and then you go into the Hyrox zone. They call it the rock zone. And it's pretty cool. They got it all numbered and tells you like where your station is. And so you go into the rock zone, you look for number 1, it says ski erg. And so they point you to exactly what ski erg you're going to be at. Very well organized. And so 1,000 meters on the ski erg. I kept around a 2-minute pace. And it's funny, like the 2 guys next to me, and I'm super big on form. I could tell their, strokes per minute was super high. Like they're probably in the like high 30s for their strokes per minute. And I'll drop an Instagram video on this, kind of going over form for ski erg and strokes per minute. But I was taking it super easy, probably in like the 22 strokes per minute. They don't allow you to change the display on the Concept 2, or at least I didn't play with it. But the main screen that they have up doesn't have the strokes per minute. But I felt like just for my training, I was around the 22 to 24 strokes per minute, taking it easy, focusing on long pulls and powerful pulls. So stayed around a 2-minute pace. It has me as a 4:30 on my split, but that also factors in transitioning time out of the rock zone. So factoring that in. Run 2 was a 5:41. Just still taking it pretty easy. And then the sled push, 50-meter sled push. I forget the weight on the sled push. I'll, have that posted up here. But super easy on the sled push, to be honest with you. So it's a down, back, down, back. So basically 4 lengths of this turf. And I felt super confident on the sled push. I tried one time using my hands on the handles, and I felt like I was kind of losing power. And so I went back to, basically like wrapping my shoulders around it so I could get a little bit lower. And that felt pretty good. And so knocked that out with a time of 3 minutes, 4 seconds on the sled push. Then my third run, 5:42. So just a second slower than my second run. Then went to the sled pull, 4:48 on the sled pull. I didn't really have a good sled to try out when I was training. I've been using the tank sled, which just has the wheels, and it's just kind of like almost inertia based resistance. So it's hard to replicate it to an actual like flat sled that you push on turf or grass. So I've been using that, so it's kind of hard to gauge technique for the sled pull, but I finally got into a rhythm where I would make sure the rope is super tight, and then once the rope is super tight, lean back, drive through the legs, and then once I got enough momentum, or it was at the end of that pull, I would do a couple tugs with my hands just to get a little bit extra. And so I think that worked really well. I'm gonna obviously have these videos playing, but so my time for the sled pull was a 4:48, which is not bad. So also that is down back on the turf. Then going into my next run, which is a 5:54, so a little bit slower, kind of going down a little bit in time, about 8 seconds off. Then my struggle point was the burpee broad jump. So 80 meters on the burpee broad jump. That hit me. I struggled on the burpee broad jump. I don't think I could string together no more than 4 jumps without having to take a break. And so I think that was probably why I went a little slower on that run. Just kind of, I knew I was going into the burpee broad jump. And so for my next training, I'll definitely be incorporating some Tabata style burpee broad jumps into my training, mixed with running. But yeah, definitely struggled on the 80-meter burpee broad jump. I saw a couple people next to me as well. I'm not gonna say cheating, but I was trying to make sure my hands were pretty strict with where I landed. So on the burpee broad jump, let's say you drop down wherever your feet are, your hands are technically supposed to be within like, you know, roughly maybe like 12 inches away from where your feet are. So I pretty much just always had, like, if my, let's say this is my foot, I made sure my hand was right in front of it, no more than that. And so a lot of guys were jumping into their next burpee broad jump and all that. I stayed in my lane, But so my time for the 80 meter burpee broad jump was 6 minutes, 45 seconds. You'll see some pro division guys doing that in about 3 minutes. And so definitely need some improvement on the burpee broad jump. Then my run after that was a 6 minutes, 27 seconds. So definitely dropped off a lot on that run. Then my favorite, the 1,000-meter row. I'm pretty good at the rower. And this is another equipment where, same with the skier, you don't want to exert a lot of energy on your ski or your row. To me, this is where you kind of catch your break, especially after burpee broad jump and the run. You should be able to catch your breath on the 1,000-meter row. So I held like a 155 pace, and my strokes per minute on that same, about 22 to 24 strokes per minute. I'll also have some technique videos, so make sure you go to my Instagram and watch those technique videos that I'll be posting. Because a lot of times I saw guys definitely going too fast. They were leaning back too soon, dropping the handles down. They would bend the knees too quick, going forward into the catch position. So if all that just sounded foreign to you, go check out those Concept 2 rowing videos that I'll post this week. And because that's definitely an area where you should have a low strokes per minute. That way you're able to catch your breath, get a lot of power and a lot of efficiency per pull. And, you know, that way you're at the halfway point at that point of the race. And so definitely want to make sure that you're catching your breath and you're able to finish strong. So again, 1,000-meter row time was 4 minutes, 40 seconds. And remember, these times factor in going in and out of the rock zone. And I think at this point too, I had to use the bathroom. So I actually, in the middle of my run, just dipped out and used the bathroom. Anywho, so my run after 1,000-meter row was a 7:06. So definitely super tired at this point. Next was the 200-meter farmer's carries. I can't remember the exact weight. I want to say it was 35 kilos in each hand. That could be more than what it actually is, but didn't feel super heavy. I did put it down once. My strategy was to put it down no more than 2 times. So first time I got about halfway and then I put it down. Then I switched to a hook grip and then had to set it down again and then finished out. So I think next time, because when I went to the farmer's carries, I was just walking with it. I think next time I'm gonna just do a hook grip and then run with it, because the weight did feel pretty light. Obviously my grip was a little fatigued from the rower, but if I hook grip and run next time, that shouldn't be a problem. And actually my run after the farmer's carry was a little faster. So before the farmer's carry, my run was a 7:06. I think I actually could have been using the bathroom on that one. But then my run after the farmer's carry was a 6:55. Then we had the 100-meter sandbag lunges. My time was a 4 minute, 25 seconds. So it's a 50-pound sandbag. I've been using kettlebells for my lunges in training. And so one, that was been working on my grip, and 2, I've been actually loading up heavier than what was used for the competition. So that helped me out a lot. I wouldn't say I took any breaks during the lunges, but I also did do like a stutter step, not a stutter step in between, but I would gather step every rep. I probably could have linked together a couple, but I'd rather do my like gather step and then go into my next lunge than have to take an actual break. So that's what I did for the entirety of the sandbag lunges, and it seemed to work pretty well. I think next time I'll try and string together at least that first lap. So at least the first 50 meters, doing each individual step, and then the next 50 meters doing my gather step. So I think that'll be my strategy for next time. Legs are super heavy at this point, so my run was at 8:05. I'm actually starting to walk on some of these runs now. And so I knew I had wall balls coming up next, so I definitely was slowing down. I was getting tired. A buddy, or not even a buddy, but a random guy came up to me. His name is Caleb. I won't forget this. But he came up to me during the run because I started cramping, and he's like, "Hey man, what you got next?" I was like, "Hey, I got wall balls next." He's like, "Hey brother, you got this." And he started telling me how he, drove down, or he's from Ohio, met some buddies in South Carolina, drove from South Carolina out to Houston, and he was just like, "Hey, you got this." And it was super inspiring, and got me back running, and he ran with me all the way back to my rock zone. And so I was feeling super confident going into the wall balls. And so you have 100 wall balls with 14 pounds. And during training, I've been using a 20-pound med ball. And so wasn't super worried. I knew I would have to take some breaks here and there. And so my strategy was start off with 15 reps. So I did 15, then 15, 15, took a break, 15, took another break. And then, so once I got to 30, I started breaking it up into reps of 10. And so broke it up into reps of 10, probably taking about 15, 20, probably about 15 seconds in between. I was just gassed at this point. And so once I got to 80, then I strung together 20 to finish out strong. So my wall ball time was 6 minutes, 41 seconds. I definitely, with some more training, can definitely increase that time, because my ideal goal is to be able to string together 15s and 20s throughout the entirety of it, instead of breaking up into 10s, because that just took way too long. So I'll definitely start next time by stringing together 15s or 20s, depending on how I feel in my training level at that point. But spent too much time on the wall balls for sure. So my total ended up being a 1:36. So it'll tell me my rock zone time was 7 minutes, 35 seconds. And then my run total was 51 minutes, 23 seconds. So definitely have a lot of improvement on the run. I'm not a big runner. I really just started running about 2 years ago. And like I said, my first half marathon was last year. So my goal this year, running wise, I'm going to do a 10K here in April. The cap 10K, my time last year was a 59:59. Definitely feel really good about crushing that. And then after that 10K, my focus is going to be on just getting my strength back and focusing on pushing my endurance and my pacing. So my goal for half marathon this year is to run a sub 2 hour half, which I know for some people is like, that's nothing, but hey, I weigh like 235. So goal is definitely drop some weight, run a sub 2 hour half. And then I'm confident once I run a sub 2 hour half, that'll put me in a good spot to improve my running for Hyrox, because the strength stuff was pretty easy, to be honest with you. It was the running that really got me, and not being able to have a very fast pace on those. So I have a strategy for next time. If you listen to me this far, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And then also follow me on Instagram for some more training videos and life updates, stuff like that. But yeah, appreciate you sticking with me. Definitely got some other videos planned. I definitely want to talk about our daycare situation. I want to talk about Frontier Airlines and how they did us bad in February. But other than that, those are kind of the videos I got lined up, and then kind of prepping for some programs I'll be dropping here soon. So appreciate you sticking with me so far. And if you got any comments for me, drop them down below. See you next time.